This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Alrighty. How are you doing, Ira? How was your weekend, sir?
I am doing good. Enjoyed the Panthers' first step, maybe another step there. Tonight, Alonzo Mourning bangs the drum at Game 2, so there'll be a little Heat input. Bunch of Heat players been to the games. Duncan Robinson last week, Udonis Haslem the other day. So, yeah. And then I got this in the text yesterday on Twitter. So, kind of frightening. I did like one of the comments. It said, yes, the perfect young Hialeah look, which I agree with, those watching us now on the stream. And yes, I very much remember being in the Dean Dome for that game, the start of preseason for the Heat when they got it going. So much more traveling then, if you remember, Big O, to non-NBA arenas. It used to be to try to draw the outside crowd. And then
on that trip, I saw a game in Jacksonville. I want to say we went to all the preseason games. It wasn't just this game. We saw a game in Jacksonville. I want to say we saw a game in Atlanta. I think we saw one in Tampa, not Orlando. I think it was Tampa, if I remember.
Yes, we did. We did, because I remember that was before they built Amalie Arena, and it was actually the Sun Dome where University of South Florida played there. The Bulls played there. So, yeah, it was different. And then someone realized, wait a minute, we can charge season ticket holders for an extra home game, so we'll just do that instead. So now almost all NBA preseason games are in NBA arenas. Kevin Edwards there?
Yeah, that's Kevin Edwards and Grant Long, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a different time, and those watching us on the stream can see a different type of shorts before the game. Some players like Naz Reid getting back to that, but it was a different time. It was a different era. The crazy thing is the entire salary cap.
What season was that? Was that the second season?
It might have been the second or the third, because I remember the first season we went to Pensacola. That's where I met Kevin Harlan when he was doing the Timberwolves games. So we started there. We went to some interesting places. I remember we had a preseason game in Albany, Georgia, instead of Atlanta one year. So they used to go to these far-flung places, and then they just realized, hey, we could just charge people from exhibition games in the full arena. And also now with today's pampered players, they get NBA-level facilities, which, look, it's hard enough to convince Jimmy Butler to play in a real arena, let alone to get him out somewhere in the sticks to play in a small-town arena. So it's just different times. I remember we had games in Biloxi, was another place that we went to also. Baton Rouge, after the storm there, they did a benefit game. So we were all over the map. Now, I honestly accept there's only one arena that he routinely have gone to that's not an NBA arena, but that's in Kansas City. They played at the MCI Center a bunch of times there, which is a world-class NHL, NBA-ready arena. But other than that, we don't do the college gyms like they used to do.
And by the way, that trip was awesome because that one stop, I had never been on the Duke campus. I had never been to UNC to go see a game in the Dean Dome with the Heat and Michael Jordan there with the Bulls. If I remember correctly, I don't think Michael came out for warm-ups. If I remember correctly, I don't remember. It was so long ago.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I remember the pregame because I don't even remember the game. So I just remember being there because I remember seeing the powder blue in the Dean Dome and the seats there and what it was like to be in an iconic facility when I'm pretty sure that had just recently opened when we went there, that was one of the first seasons of the Dean Dome.
You know what? I did not realize that was one of the first seasons of the Dean. Wow, that's a fun fact. And I got to see Fort Bragg also. So it was like really cool. I mean, when you saw NC State, it was a little depressing compared to once you see Duke's campus and UNC's campus, holy shit, dude. I mean,
so much has changed because remember, UNC's arena now is where the Carolina Hurricane play. So they share their arena there. So they have a pro arena also. And then, of course, Duke just has its iconic bandbox. So that's really one of the few that's still left. Everyone is moving to these bigger arenas. With the TV deals, you can do that now. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just that was a fun time, back in there. I still have my Billy Thompson my Billy Thompson jersey. I remember when he used to autograph. He would autograph Jesus Saves, and then Billy
Yes,
Thompson.
and now he's a pastor up in Boca Raton, has his own congregation, his own church there. So at least one of those guys who went and then pursued that going forward. And he actually chaplains occasionally at Heat games as well.
Well, you know what? I got to go up to his place and take my Billy Thompson jersey and get it signed.
Sure, but not on Sundays. He might be working.
Okay, well, after I'll be in line for bread, and I'll just bring my jersey, and that's it.
Sure.
And so that's all. Everybody's getting bread. I'll get bread, and then I'll say, okay, can you sign my jersey, Billy? And then, that's it. So I think that'll be a good thing. By the way, just to touch base on this, I don't have any problem with this. I actually think this is actually normal. But the whole Caitlin Clark thing off the Olympic squad, it's actually a really good Olympic squad. And they're actually loaded, so it's really not a big thing. And I actually think it's awesome for her because, like every rookie, she'll now go hit the gym, she'll get stronger, and she'll get better for her next season and all that kind of stuff. I do have an issue with some of the stuff, the way she's been treated by certain people. I do sense a bias there, but outside of that, in this topic here, I have no problem with her being off the Olympic squad.
No, I don't either. And I saw Rebecca Lobo had a really good point. The Olympic squad is built over a 3-year period. They've already had 2 training camps. They've had a World Cup. They've been together. In other words, it's almost like this year's great men's Olympic team. You could make an argument there might have been better choices than Bam Adebayo, but he committed to the World Cup last summer in the Philippines. He committed to the process. It's a process. You grow with it. As far as the other stuff is, and this I will say, you look at the NBA and the next big thing that started this past season in Victor Wembanyama. You could have had players go out there and try to club him in the face, try to knock him down, try to take him out. Instead, they realized the players, this is good for our sport. This is good internationally. This is good for interest. This is good for our next $7 billion TV deal. Like, the NBA players get it. Like, instead of being jealous of it, appreciate what it is doing for your sport. It would be nice to see the other league grow that much as well also. Victor Wembanyama was embraced by the NBA as something that could grow the sport. You'd like to see all sports do that. Here's the deal, Big O, because you've seen this. MLS players could get physically right up on Messi and really F him up if they wanted to. There has been no single player that's been more important for this league moving to another level than what Lionel Messi has done and what Inter Miami has done also. You appreciate that when you get a GOAT in your sport. That was the odd thing about the WNBA with Caitlin Clark, which I don't understand. Embrace someone who helps grow your sport.
And by the way, the Aces and Liberty have the best guards in the freaking league, bro. There's a reason why the Aces won the championship, dude. So Kelsey Plum is a badass, dude, and Wilson and Breanna Stewart and Sabrina. That's why she's not on there. She's not on there because they're freaking loaded, bro. Eventually she'll get on there and she'll be fine, but we're actually fortunate. They're super deep. So that part, I think people are making a little bit.
And you know what, Big O? And there's always been snubs also. Remember Isaiah Thomas claiming that Michael Jordan kept him off the dream team? So this is not women's drama. This is not WNBA drama. This is sports. This is sports. And in every case of one of those things, we can point to the NBA or another league where it's happened also. So this is all part of the process.
Yeah. All right. So, man, I was all wrong about Dallas, and then I picked them to go 6. So did I jinx them or something? Because Kyrie Irving, the first 2 games, they're going a little rough there. I know we don't have Dallas could go and win their 2 home games and back to square one. But so far, what do you see in the first 2 games?
Boston has the better team. It's not that hard. They have 5 really good players that they can put on the court. Dallas has 2. Again, let's sit here, Big O, and look at it this way. You look at Boston, you look at Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, who's certainly emerging, Drew Holiday, who does nothing but win. You got 5 players there. So let me throw the ball back in your court. Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving. Who's the 3rd best Maverick?
PJ.
Okay, well, okay. So you're talking about a guy who did nothing but lose in Charlotte for his entire career until he came over. So if that's your choice, whether it's Gafford, whether it's Lively, you need depth of talent to win. Is what we've spoken about with the Heat also. When you're talking about who's the number one, who's the number two, Dallas has two great scorers. Dallas has two great offense-only players. Yes, if they get into a shootout, they might be able to each put a 40 burger on you and carry their team. But that's really hard to do. So why do I expect? We saw it in Boston's first two series. There will be a game when the opponents get hot. Miami, the Heat won one game. You looked at the Cleveland series, they got hot from three. They won a game. There will be a Luka and Kyrie game, and we'll go, oh, these are the Mavericks we recognize. But you know what? The Celtics are a super team right now. And when you list the great champions and teams you knew, this is what it shows you. This is why the regular season matters. Because Boston has been ascending the entire time. They never took a step back they gained the confidence in October and November and December, unlike maybe a team down here, and they just kept going. Boston has done it the right way. I know down here in South Florida, there's an anti-Celtic sentiment, and that's fine, and rivalry is good. But this current Celtics team, if they close this series out in 5 games or less, I think will go down as one of the, close to all-time great champions based on their season, based on their postseason. Hey, I know who they haven't played, but they've gotten the job done every step of the way.
And you know what? I'll be honest, because I love being this way, right or wrong. I kind of got lulled to sleep a little bit because we had not seen Porzingis for a couple of series, and we forgot how important he can be for them. And immediately from game one,
As soon as he stepped in, came off the bench. Yesterday, he was hurt a little bit. They were able to carry him. But that's what a team does. That Jason Tatum has not been at his best in this series and hasn't mattered as much. I think you would agree, Big O, that Kyrie and Luka both have to be great for Dallas to win a game. Luka was great last night. Kyrie's been anything but. It's a really hard way to go. You know what? It's interesting when we step back. Because last year we saw last season's Heat derided in the finals as not sort of being worthy. Dallas is sort of that team also. Hey, God bless them. They got through 3 tough rounds in a tough conference. They deserve due credit for that. But no one's looking at Dallas as a great team. If we were to rate the teams in the NBA this season, we would not have had Dallas 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or maybe even 6. But you know what? In this league, you win the playoffs, you advance.
Yeah. No, I'm public enemy number 1 there. I would have never had them up there. They completely fooled me, I got to say. All right, let's move over to our local team with the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler's out west, sparking it up out west. So what do we hear? What do we know?
What we know is this, is Jimmy's been on the West Coast. He went up to the Bay Area. He came back down to L.A. He watched the Sparks play. He noticed one of his favorite players there wearing his same number, and he goes, that number 22 looks good in L.A. colors, because that's who Jimmy is. I get a text when I'm driving around the other day from Jimmy's agent, Bernie Lee, and he goes to me, "You're one of the few people who didn't text me about that video." And I'm like, Bernie, I've seen this Jimmy act. I know who he is. I know the game he plays. If I were to take every time Jimmy puts a breadcrumb out there, seriously, as some major momentous thing, I'm just giving into it. And I know people want the clicks and they want the hits, and that's how they portray these stories. This is Jimmy being Jimmy. From the moment Pat Riley issued his challenge, I knew that Jimmy don't give an F. Because Jimmy never give an F. Because Jimmy knows what he wants, is going to ask for what he wants, and he'll deal with it when he has to deal with it. This is like LeBron James when Pat Riley called him out in June 2014 as you fight the challenge, you don't walk away, you stay with it, you stay in the fight. And you know LeBron was watching the whole time and going, yeah. So Pat did what he had to do. Jimmy does what he does. If you take every Jimmy breadcrumb as something huge and sort of news-breaking and groundbreaking, then you're just playing into his game because Jimmy can manipulate with the best, play social media, but it solves nothing. Now, does it piss off Pat Riley to a degree? Yeah. Here's the difference. I think Pat Riley a decade ago in 2014 let it bother him. I think Pat Riley, just like the rest of us, realized social media is taken off. It's just part of the game. Pat Riley was with the Lakers. Pat Riley was suspending. Anthony Mason never said, Wonder how social media is going to react to all this. Remember Pat Riley when he lost his job because of his differences with Magic Johnson in LA? Can you imagine how much quicker that would have exploded instead of the amicable parting if there was social media? We talk all the time about Michael Jordan's gambling. Can you imagine if there were cell phones and cameras there to catch Michael Jordan in Atlantic City between games against the Knicks in the playoffs? It would have been a completely different situation instead of Phil Jackson sort of sit there with a smarmy smile and like, do you know or do you just think you know? It's just different times. Jimmy Butler is playing the Jimmy Butler 2024 games. Don't read anything into this. I think the Miami Heat, and we've spoken about this on our accurate Pembroke Pines report, have a plan with Jimmy Butler. I think the Miami Heat listen to the Big O show and hear Orlando Alzugaray say no more extensions. They know what they want to do. Jimmy can put out all that he wants. The Heat have a game plan. Could they get Donovan Mitchell? Could they get Larry Markkinen? Could they get another player? They have all these things lined up. Jimmy posting an Instagram live video is not going to change their approach. It might have ticked off Pat Riley at one point. Now he just realized, hey, these are the times you have to adjust, and he's always had to do that.
Yeah, and in the end, I don't think he's going out west anyways. Although, do you think he wants to? I mean, it's hard to get into his head, but in the end, does he want to be in Philadelphia or does he just want whoever wants to pay him the extension?
He wants to Jimmy Butler and to most athletes. The best way you can show love is not a warm embrace from Pat Riley. It's not Spo talking you up to the media. It's the paycheck. It's the money. You want to see that. Do they love me? The only way I know love is what I see in the paycheck that comes every other Friday. That's what I want to see. Jimmy will, I believe, I might be wrong, Jimmy will play anywhere that will give him the money. That's why that story out of Philadelphia cannot be discounted about the Sixers being willing to give him the money. We haven't heard that from anywhere else. I know there are a couple of other teams who have similarly talked about that, who might not necessarily be Heat trade partners. I can't see Jimmy Butler and LeBron James on the same team. Their games are way too similar. That's another mid-range guy. That's two other guys who play a similar style. I could see Jimmy Butler in LA with the Clippers if Paul George leaves and go to the Sixers. So I do think that's a possibility. This is all posturing right now. Jimmy, have some fun. Fans, if you want to go crazy, hey, let Jimmy drive you in the direction you want. Pat Riley, Andy Ellisberg, Nick Harrison are going to act in the Heat's best interest. If that's with Jimmy, fine. If that's not with Jimmy, they can deal with it. And Big O, it's interesting. One of my Ask Ira questions I had today at sunsentinel.com, a reader said to me, Jimmy Butler seemed to become the biggest talking point down here since Michael Beasley. And you remember what that was like from the drafting of Beasley. Should they keep Beasley? Are they featuring him the two times they brought him back? I never thought sentiment would be as 50-50 as it is on Jimmy Butler as it's running right now. This is a guy who's gotten you to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the 4 previous years, who's resurrected your team from the Big 3 era and 5 or 6 years out in the wilderness. Fans are getting smarter down here, Big O. They understand salary cap leagues. They understand team building. They understand older players and the risks that are associated. I think it's really interesting. I never would have thought we'd be seeing 50-50 Jimmy Butler sentiment, and I think that's how it's running right now. There are people who say, hey, thanks, Jimmy, appreciate it, bye-bye, and there are other people who are going, oh, my God, we can't live without Jimmy. So it's interesting. There are both sides.
I think the intelligent ones are the ones that are saying, hey, thanks, man. It was a great run. But you, if you're smart enough, you know this is not the way to succeed. It's not the way the Heat does things. You can't just, coast in the regular season and then say, okay, we're going to play our way out of the play-in. That's the plan the last 2 years with Jimmy. That you got lucky last year. You got your breaks with Embiid and with Giannis. That shit ain't going to happen, and it didn't happen this time around, and you got screwed. And that's what's going to happen more often because the 8th seed doesn't really get to the finals, okay? And we're not in the bubble and all that other shit. So you've had all kinds of different and weird scenarios happen to you during this streak to allow you to have that success. So the smart fan sees that, reads that, and knows, okay, this isn't sustainable. You know what I mean? Kind of like the way we print money in this country. It ain't sustainable. Same shit here. And I think some fans are getting smart and they say, yeah, we love what Jimmy did, but he no longer wants to try. And this formula is not a formula for success.
And we heard early on people saying, well, after what happened to Dwayne Wade, the Heat can't afford to run off another star. No. Dwayne Wade was a decade-plus iconic player who won 3 championships down here, not just getting to the Eastern Finals or even the NBA Finals. This is a different scenario. Dwayne Wade could be once-in-a-franchise lifetime player, sort of like Dan Marino. You get those, they're in a completely different level. Zoe wasn't that level. Tim wasn't that level. They both left, and we dealt with it. Tim Hardaway was traded. Alonzo Mourning left in free agency for the New Jersey Nets, and we got over it. It's not Dwayne Wade. This is not the Heat when Dwayne wanted to stay and winding up going off to his hometown team. It's a different scenario. I do believe Jimmy overplayed his hand in that regard. And if Jimmy wanted to and gave a whatever word you want to use about winning back the fans, he wouldn't be talking about how good he looks in LA colors. He wouldn't be spending this part of the offseason out in LA instead of being a more visible presence here. I mean, like I said, look tonight, Alonzo Mourning is banging the drum at the Panthers game. If Jimmy was of this community, he would be chiming in on the Panthers. He would be part of our community. Jimmy is a mercenary who has done a wonderful job in his 4+ years here. But do not compare this to Dwayne Wade. That's wrong.
Yeah, it's not even close. No doubt about that. All right, follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. What do you got going on in the Sentinel?
You know, I wrote an Ask Ira today about even with Luka and Kyrie being off a bit, especially Kyrie's in this series, what this series is showing you is you better have 2 A-list scorers, like I mentioned. You better have Tatum, and you better have Jaylen Brown. You better have Luka. You better have Kyrie. He doesn't have one. Jimmy Butler is a 20-ish point scorer. Jimmy Butler has never gone out. He's had games like this where he said, I am consistently going to deliver 25-plus points to my team. That's not Bam's game. He doesn't have that. So the Heat are not only behind the 8 ball that they don't have 2 of those players, they need to get 1. That's why Lillard last summer. That's why Mitchell this summer. And they've got to keep going until at least they find 1, because when you get 1, it's a hell of a lot easier to find another.
Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Ira, as always, thank you, my friend. We will catch up next week, sir.
Next week in our Accurate Pembroke Pines report. Thanks, Big O.
You got it. There you go. And, of course, Accurate Pembroke Pines at 15601 Pines Boulevard, just off of I-75 in Pines. And if you own or lease an Acura, go see my guys, Mike Chan and Jordan Ferber. They will take care of you. We've got the 16th anniversary sale going on right now. They're offering 3.9% financing for 60 months. The 2024 Integra, $319 a month. The RDX, it is $419 a month. Get on down there to, of course, the finest Acura dealership in the business. It is Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines.
This is the Big O Show.